Hello, my beautiful friends. I am so excited to share something that I have been building for over a year. Now, many of you have heard me mention the weekly Health RX by Ayurveda. So let me tell you more about what it is and why I built it with my co-founder, Dr. Thamit Sethi, who is an integrative medicine physician and one of the most brilliant clinicians that I know. The two of us built this because we were both so tired of watching women in midlife trying to do everything they could to feel better and still not feeling well and not feeling like themselves. And then honestly, I became one of the women that we were trying to help. After chemotherapy for breast cancer, I went into medical menopause overnight. One day I had estrogen and the next day I didn't. And I found myself struggling with so many of the same things that other women in midlife are struggling with. The sleep that falls apart at 3 a.m., the brain fog, the weight that won't budge no matter what you do, the mood swings that you don't recognize, and the energy that crashes by 2 p.m. And honestly, nothing was enough. Not my medical training, not the generic wellness advice that was out there, not for me and not for the women that I have been trying to help for most of my career. So we built something different, the weekly Health RX. You can think of it like a physician in your pocket or your doctor in your pocket. Every week you get a short audio prescription from Thamit and me built around your biology, around your Ayurvedic dosha or mind-body constitution. You get the science behind why generic advice has failed so many women going through perimenopause and menopause. And you get a like-minded community to build you up and cheer for you on your healing journey. This is how we end the guessing game for women in midlife, for women in perimenopause and menopause. No more wondering what works for your body. No piecing it together alone, because it's not in your head. It's in your dosha. Generic advice does not work. Personalized prescriptions do. So if any of this resonates with you, join us over on Substack. Go to weeklyhealthrx.substack.com. It's linked in the show notes for you. And you can sign up for free. That's where you start. And when you're ready to go deeper, the paid version is just $20 a month, less than one latte or green smoothie a week. And inside the paid subscription, that's where you get your prescription. Rooted in tradition, backed by science, personalized for you. So many of you have been with me on this podcast for the past 5 years, and you know what I believe, that healing isn't just possible, it's in your power. The Weekly Health RX is the next chapter of my work. I am so excited to share this with you, and I hope that you'll come with me. Hi, I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh, and this is the Healing Catalyst podcast. I'm a medical doctor with over 20 years of experience and also a lifelong practitioner of Ayurveda. I created the Healing Catalyst podcast because we all deserve a different kind of conversation about health, one that's honest, holistic, and rooted in both science and soul. On this show, I'm joined by the world's leading experts to give you science-backed tools that you can start using today and actually stick with to build real health and longevity. I am so glad you're here. Now let's get to it. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Healing Catalyst. I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh. We are back with the Summer Reset series again this week. And this week, we're moving from sleep to food. And if you're new here, every other Tuesday this summer, we're bringing back conversations from our back catalog of almost 200 episodes that I keep returning to and recommending to everyone. Now, sleep and food are the two foundations of your health, and everything builds from there. So it made sense to have a summer reset building from sleep and food. Now, the conversation today is about how to actually eat in the summer and how Ayurveda has been teaching this for thousands of years. Here's something that you may not know, and that will actually seem a little counterintuitive at first. Your digestive fire, or what Ayurveda calls Agni, actually gets weaker in the summer, not stronger. So when you reach for an iced drink to cool down, that iced drink actually weakens your already weakened digestive fire or Agni. And that makes the heat even worse. It actually has a worsening effect on your health. Today, we're bringing back one of our Go Deeper episodes from my dear friend, mentor, and teacher, Divya Alter. In this conversation, Divya teaches us what to actually eat for summer, the cooling foods that help, the ones that backfire, what to do when your appetite drops, and why room temperature water cools you better than anything iced. Now, before we get to the episode, let me tell you a little bit about Divya. Chef Divya Alter is the chef restaurateur behind Divya's Kitchen in New York City. She's the author of two of my absolute favorite cookbooks, What to Eat for How You Feel and The Joy of Balance. She's also the founder of Enact, the first Ayurvedic nutrition and culinary training program in North America, which I completed a few years ago. Now, one thing that's important to know when you're going into this conversation is that what cools your body in the summer depends on your dosha. Pittas need the most cooling. Vatas, they need warmth, even though they need some cooling as well. And Kapha, they need lightness. Each dosha needs different things in the summer, and therefore they need to eat differently in the summer. And this is exactly why Dr. Thamit Sethi and I built the Weekly Health RX, personalized prescriptions for your body and your biology in midlife. Now, here's my conversation with Chef Divya Alter. Hello, Divya. It's so nice to be back with you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you, Avanti, for having me. It's wonderful to be back with you. Very happy to see you so healthy and so happy. So thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm excited to have you. And we were talking, actually, I saw you a few weeks ago when I was in New York, and it was just so lovely to have some chai with you at your restaurant and give you a big hug because I hadn't seen you in a while. So I'm just so happy to see you and to be here with you. And we were talking when we met about, you coming back on the podcast and, talking about some different ideas. And one of the ideas we had was to talk about the change of seasons and dietary changes, because we get a lot of questions. I know you get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions about this. And so, what I'd like to start with, if you're okay with it, is just to maybe start with a little bit of background of, why in Ayurveda do we need to adjust our diet with the season? Let's start sort of general, and maybe then we could hone in on summer since that's the month that we are in right now.
Yeah, sure. I don't know about you, but here in New York is very hot and very humid today.
Very hot and humid here too.
It's like woo. And the way I feel is like, oh wow, I feel so sluggish and so slow and I don't want to do anything. So I'm trying to stay more indoors because outdoors it just feels so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of weather right now is so different than the weather in September or October, where when it just becomes much cooler and drier and the leaves start to change. It's just a completely different environment. And Ayurveda is all about living in harmony with nature, and we are part of nature. Every time we separate ourselves from nature, we get in trouble, we get sick. So, connecting, living in connection with nature is all of this is part of life. And just like we change our clothes when the season changed, like right now I'm going sleeveless, know, like as much ventilation as possible. Unlike in September, October, we put a scarf on, we have a jacket. It's cool because it's cooler. So similarly, we don't just change our clothes, we also have to adjust our diet and our lifestyle, even some of our activities, so that we can support balance of our body and mind.
Right. And so it's just that whole idea of changing as nature does from one season to the next in every way, right? Nature also gives us different things at this time of the year.
Yes, exactly. And see, living in connection with nature is constantly changing. We're constantly changing. So part of a balanced life is to constantly adapt to these changes, not just externally, but also internally with what we take in to our bodies. And that's the fun, right? It's that's the fun. And you can speak to every farmer. They have different people who live in the land and they work on the land, and they will tell you they have different routines with the different seasons. They just respond to what nature presents itself. We cannot isolate ourselves from nature.
Right. As much as we try to in modern world where, we're working late into the night when nature is sleeping and we are awake because we have lights that we can turn on, right? And the list goes on, whether it's, walking on artificial stairs in a gym or a treadmill rather than being outside and walking, right? I mean, those are all modern conveniences that can help us, but taken to an extreme when you're doing only that and not being out in nature and harmonizing with nature, that's where the problems really begin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, okay, so this is absolutely true. We change our diet. And so when we get to summer, sort of what is sort of the principle in Ayurveda that sort of dominates how we look at this change of energy, of doshas, however you want to describe it, going from spring to summer, perhaps?
Yeah, well, spring is a lot cooler. Spring is cool. We're talking about the northern hemisphere where we live. It's not so much California, even though there are seasons in California, tropical countries. So spring is much cooler. There is a lot more rain, and it's kind of a lot of fluctuation between cold and warm. Uh, and summer tends to be steady heat. And that heat also, the heat in nature, the heat around us also increases our heat in the body. So pitta, the heat in the body is called pitta, and that also goes up high. So that's why in the summer we tend to feel hotter. Our skin feels hot. We sweat more because sweating is a natural body mechanism to reduce heat. By sweating, we actually cool down. We get thirstier, but also, what can happen in the body is that we may lose our appetite. So, our appetite can go down, which is called Agni in Ayurveda, the digestive fire. And then the heat itself goes up. So, yeah, it's that's why you don't feel like cooking so much. And we enjoy eating a lot of fruits and like quick things because we're not as hungry. Not as hungry as in the middle of the winter, for example.
I wanted to ask you this question and I already asked it, but we'll just ask you again and then you can answer. Is that something important that you just said is that in the summer, our pitta, which is that fire element, increases. And so we feel more heat, but that our digestive fire, Agni, goes down. Because I know that this is, confusing for a lot of us that who are really diving into Ayurveda and trying to study and learn. It can get a little confusing when we're thinking about the fire element of pitta and then the digestive fire of Agni. We confuse them sometimes. So could you just stop for 1 second and explain that before we move on to dietary components? Like what is the difference between those two, pitta and Agni?
Sure. So there is a reason why the writers of Ayurveda use two different terms, even though both Agni and Pitta carry fiery energy. So Agni is pure fire. It's like the fire, the flame that you see when you burn wood. And Pitta is the element of fire or the energy of fire with combination of water. So because Pitta is fire and water, the energy of fire and water is more fluid. I always think of it about as like a fuel. It's very fiery, it's flammable, but it's able to flow. And so Vaidya Mishra, my Ayurveda teacher, he used to say how if you look at a ghee lamp or a gas burner, let's use a gas burner. So the flame that comes out of the burner, that's Agni, that's pure fire. And the gas that's flowing through the pipe to produce to the fire, that's pitta.
That really helps.
So what happens is in the summer when it's so hot outside, our Agni naturally goes down to it's like a protective mechanism almost. So we experience this phenomenon called high pitta, low Agni. So you feel very hot, but you don't have any appetite. And it's very tricky. Actually, Vladimir used to say that not just in the summer, but nowadays, because of the way we live in the West and the way we eat, a lot of people constantly have this issue of having a lot of pitta, which pitta can also increase, that heat can also increase by carrying a lot of hot acidic toxins. They can be the cause of high pitta. And then low Agni. And the low Agni can also be caused by, when we eat a lot of foods that we don't digest, especially ultra processed foods, then the pipes in our digestive system, I'm explaining it very simply, they can kind of get clogged. So imagine if your gas burner, like these little holes where the flame comes from, if they're clogged. So the gas will be flowing properly, but because of clogging in these gaps, the fire will be very low. So another reason for low Agni high pitta is when we don't clean our bodies regularly and we eat foods that we don't fully digest. They clog us up, and that sludge is causing low metabolic. It lowers our metabolism, and it actually leads to a lot of problems. But in the summer, this is more natural for us, and that's why like people in Europe, especially, and also in India. I remember the summer in India is brutal.
It is.
It's so hot.
It is so hot.
But everything closes during in the afternoon. People just go and rest because it's just so hot. The body is just not working. So people usually work in the morning and the evening, and they rest in the afternoon. And that's the only time of the year where Ayurveda would recommend to take a siesta, to have a little afternoon break and to rest, because the energy goes so low, especially after we eat lunch.
Okay, so that is an excellent explanation of the difference between digestive fire, which is Agni, versus Pitta, which is the heat element of the combination of fire and water, those elements. And so, and as you said, that naturally happens in the summer, that the heat, the fire element and the water element, so Pitta goes up in the body, but the digestive fire goes down. That's like a natural occurrence, but it can also be in imbalanced or, other issues that are going on at other times of the year. So the question then becomes is how do we, with using the diet, as we're going into summer, into the Pitta season, how do we start to balance that so that, even though our Agni is going down and our Pitta is going up, how do we kind of regulate it with the diet? That would be the first question.
This is where it gets tricky, Avanti, isn't it? Because a lot of digestive herbs and spices and foods that increase Agni also increase Pitta.
Exactly.
How do you increase Agni and lower Pitta at the same time?
The hard thing.
It's a hard thing, but thankfully, we have knowledge of how to do that. And there are a few spices that are cooling, but they also increase Agni. They support their Agneya or their Pachana, so they help with digestion, or their Dipana. They help increase digestive fire without increasing Pitta. And two of these spices that I love so much are coriander and fennel. So in the summer, I use a lot more coriander and fennel because they are cooling, and they help regulate the digestive fire. So if it's too low, they will increase it. If it's too high, they will decrease it. And then also the leaves, so fresh coriander leaves or cilantro is also a great flavoring agent for food. That's also very cooling and it has so many other benefits. See, in general, in the summer, our seasoning, the flavors of our food should be lighter. It should be milder. In the winter, we need like in more intense flavors, and they come from a lot of heating spices like chilies and mustard seeds, ginger, a lot of ginger. But in the summer, uh, the balance is with mild flavors. And these mild flavors, I like to use a lot of fresh herbs like basil. Sweet basil is great because the younger basil is actually more cooling. And I love sweet Italian basil is wonderful. And it's very tasty. It makes the food very tasty, but also basil is great for digestion. Dill, a little bit of dill like that. It's really a few like less spices, more fresh herbs, and that will really help to increase Agni and lower Pitta.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So, spices are medicine. We know that. Okay, so let me stop for 1 second. Let's go back to sort of, a lot of us, we're all trying to eat healthy. We're trying to be, conscious of what we're doing. But then, the way that we live in the Western world, it can be very at odds with Ayurvedic principles. And, as many of us are trying to learn. And so, first of all, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see that a lot of us are making with our food choices in the summer? Let's start there, sort of like, what are the don'ts and things that we're commonly doing that maybe we could just start to be aware of and maybe regulate, start to decrease those habits or those food choices?
Yeah, well, kind of one kind of like I would call it intuitive mistake is to put ice in everything. So you may think, oh, I feel so hot. It's hot outside. So if I have an ice cold drink, I will feel cooler. But it actually has like thermogenically in the body, it has a different, the opposite effect because when ice cold food reaches the stomach is like, oh, let me put more fire to and increase, just like turn up the furnace, so to say, to break down this cold ice. Sometimes that happens, and sometimes the ice completely extinguishes the fire. So it's like imagine pouring ice on fire. it's so ultimately ice weakens our agni even more, and it can increase pitta even more. So what I recommend is like have little ice packs. You can,
We'll do it externally.
you can put it on your skin. Yeah, put it on your skin because it will actually cool you faster that way through the skin. The skin is also a hot organ, so the skin is one of the seats for pitta in the body. It tends to heat and it carries heat. So applying it topically will be much more balancing than taking ice externally.
Yeah, and that's why, in the summer or when there's a lot of heat sort of almost trying to escape the body, it comes through the skin and we have rashes and inflammation and eczema and acne, all of these things, which is literally like heat is trying to escape the body through the skin because the skin is this large organ that is a seat of pitta. So that it makes very intuitive sense when you're saying that.
But see, so if you experience any kind of these skin problems that you just mentioned, also redness and all that, this is an indication your body is telling you you're overheated. You need cooling foods. You need to cool down because, as you said, it's just the heat is just trying to escape. And yeah, if you've reached that state, you're really overheated. So like do something right away.
Yes, exactly. That's a huge indication, right? And so that's one common mistake is that we're trying to use ice internally in drinks, in foods, and taking it internally, trying to cool ourselves off, but that's actually doing the opposite. It's increasing our heat. What's another mistake that people commonly make with food choices in the summer?
Eating deep fried foods and fried foods in general, greasy foods, because in the summer we need less fat. And you may notice also, I notice it every summer, my skin gets a little oilier in the summer and much drier in the fall. So if you eat too many greasy foods, then this will definitely increase heat in your liver, in your skin, and you may start having these like pimples and acne kind of problems on the skin because, again, the heat is trying to get out. I always advise people to quit eating deep fried foods altogether because it's very taxing on the liver and the gallbladder and thickens the bile. And most deep fried foods are fried in very bad oils that have been reused several times. And that's really bad fat for the body and cholesterol. But in general, especially in the summer, definitely. So donuts, I mean, donuts are deep fried, they're really enjoyable, but they're deep fried among many other problems, health problems with donuts. So, and all these barbecued foods, charred foods, like when you barbecue and the food, I don't eat meat, but people can grill vegetables also. And the charring is also very, very unhealthy. So, lightly grilled vegetables, that's okay, but anything that's black, don't put it in your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, and so these are common things we're doing, when we're going to summer gatherings with families and friends and outdoors. And so, these are things that go on. And so it's just being really aware that these are things that are actually going to counteract our health, like not support our health really in the summertime, especially. Okay. So fried foods, like charred grilled foods, the ice. Any other common mistakes you see in the summer?
Let's see. Also, eating very heavy foods, like heavy carbs, and we need to eat lighter because digestion is slower. So, like all these breads and baked goods, this is great food for the winter when it's cold outside and digestive fire agni is much higher inside. But yeah, avoid anything that's too heavy, anything that's heavy cheeses. And we need less dairy, we need less fat, we need less protein also in the summer because usually protein rich foods are kind of heavy to digest. We need a lot more fruits and vegetables and juicy things.
Everything that Mother Nature gives us.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And one thing that I often see in the summer is that because we want to eat all that fresh produce, some of us are eating raw too much. Like it's because, again, if your digestive fire is lower, it's going to have to work harder to break down the fibrous material and, all of the things that are in raw vegetables. And so, that can become a problem too if you're eating too much of that. And if you're trying to eat them too early in the morning or too late in the day. So I always suggest that people, if they're going to eat those kind of raw vegetables, a salad, to sort of concentrate it in the middle of the day when our digestive fire is a little bit higher naturally.
Salad is really raw salad, like leafy greens. It's the best. Summer is kind of a good time for it, but have a good dressing to ground the airy properties of it. And if you're eating it for lunch, it's always good to start with the salad, like finish the salad and then eat the cooked foods. That will be better for digestion. And also, if you're traveling, because we travel on vacation and we travel longer distances, we tend to do that in the summer. So don't eat salads right before and during and right after you fly, just to keep your vata or your airy energy more balanced. And in this way, you also be less constipated when you travel.
Okay, so those are some common don'ts, I think, that, mistakes that we see. And a lot of them feel like, oh, it's okay to do these and we understand why, but hopefully everyone who's listening, you understand sort of the Ayurvedic perspective of why it's not supportive of your health because it's actually not good for your digestive fire, which is already low in the summer. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and Avanti, I mean, it's we're not the Ayurveda police, we're not, people have their choices. But what I would suggest to our listeners, if you choose to eat any of those foods that we don't recommend in the summer, just be aware, just notice how you feel afterwards. Be aware Like, notice how you feel an hour or 2 hours afterwards, the next day. Just notice how your body is responding to these foods that, in general, will make you feel more imbalanced in this season.
Right. And the awareness is always the key, right? Is being aware of why you're making the choices you're making. Okay, so then we've kind of talked about sort of the don'ts of summer diet. So let's talk about some of the do's of summer diet, maybe just generally, and then we're going to go into some specifics because I know you have some specific recommendations. But in general, what are the do's for our summer diet?
Okay, rice is very cooling. Not the black rice and not so much the red rice, they're heavier, but the lighter varieties like basmati rice. I really like mata rice. It's a Thai parboiled rice from South India, or Sona Masuri rice, like something lighter like that. And in that's one good grain for the summer. Quinoa also works well. In terms of lentils, some of the lentils actually have a heating effect. So mung dal, like mung beans, the yellow split mung dal or the whole mung beans, and also red lentils, they're more cooling. Especially the mung dal is kind of the most cooling of all. But avoid like urad dal, which is extremely heating. Also, like beluga lentils or green lentils, these are okay in the summer. And then the wonderful, bountiful choices we have of produce in the summer. There's so many vegetables. Just go to the farmer's market. Like the other day, I was at the farmer's market and there were like at least 10 different types of summer squash, different colors, different shapes. I was like, wow. My new favorite is avocado squash. It's really delicious. So, zucchini, all kinds of leafy greens that you cook, and a bitter melon is in season. I just got some bitter melon from the farmer's market. It's very bitter, and bitterness actually pulls heat out of the body. So I like to saute it, to sometimes roast it, and green beans. There are so many like different types of radishes. There are so many different types. Artichokes in season now. They're really fantastic. So all these vegetables, and we need to eat more vegetables. And for those of you who eat meat, definitely less meat and a lot more vegetables because meat is super heavy to digest. And then with fruits, oh, it is the fruit paradise. So all the seasonal juicy and sweet fruit that you see out there, enjoy that. Make sure it's sweet and juicy, not sour and kind of hard. Then it will balance your vata and your pitta. And but don't mix the fruit. So don't mix watermelon in your salad. And I always eat the melons alone. I don't mix them with anything else. In India, they sprinkle a pinch of black salt on the fruits because it helps digest them, but not everybody is used to this taste. And yeah, right now we have peaches and apricots and cherries and strawberries. There's so many different types of fruit out there.
So it's really following Mother Nature, but I think some of your recommendations on the grains and lentils that are a little bit more cooling and lighter, those are important to think about. Again, just to adjust what you're eating.
Yeah, and they're very if you like to eat nuts, nuts are more seasonal in the cold season, but you can soak them. When you soak them, they become more cooling, easier to digest. Also less fat, so cook with less fat. Cultured ghee is a tridoshic fat that you can cook with all year round. But a little bit of the milder varieties of extra virgin olive oil, high quality olive oil. The milder varieties have less polyphenols and it's less peppery. So the less peppery olive oil is better to use. It's less heating in the summer. And also coconut oil. Coconut oil is very cooling. It's the most cooling of all oils. So if I cook with coconut oil, I usually do it in the hot season.
Got it. Yeah. So this is really important, for everybody who's listening, is that these are subtle changes and just choosing different types within the ingredient class. So, your oils, you're just, adjusting which oil you're using, or, you're adjusting how much fat or which fat. That's the way we kind of think about things in Ayurveda. It's not about necessarily eliminating something, but it's just, adjusting what you're using in that food group really. Still have some grains, maybe lessen the amount of grains, and then choose ones that are lighter and easier to digest. It's the same with, the lentils. So I think that that's really an important thing to think about also in the summer.
I have a master class, like a video class that's called Seasonal Cooking with Ayurveda. And it's a lot of fun. I explain like what we're going through right now, but in more detail. I explain the qualities and what our bodies go through in each season, and then how to select the ingredients. And then I show a seasonal recipe. I actually teach you how to make it. And then we're using those specific ingredients for each season. And then it makes more sense when you actually connect this to the recipes that you're cooking. It's like, oh, okay, zucchini. Oh, that's how I can cook it. Like I would use a little bit of ginger in the summer, but it will be maybe dry ginger and just a few pinches. Like not your food should not taste it. You can use spices to flavor it, but it should not taste like burning hot spicy in your mouth.
Right. And so, and yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned your master classes because, all of you should know these are beautiful master classes. We'll make sure that we link them in the show notes for all of you. But if you really want to dive in to learn more about Ayurveda, this is a really wonderful way because Divya is talking to you on a video and you're seeing her, with the foods and showing you how to do things. And it's really sort of multi-sensorial. I love watching them. I always pick up something new. And so it's a really good way to learn about these principles too. So
Yeah, thank you. That's why we produce them, because so many people were asking, and I'm like, okay, here, this is systematic presentation, and it can really, and I guide you step by step of how to understand the principles and also how to apply them in your kitchen.
okay, so let's go into maybe some summer meal ideas because you are the person to ask about this. And so maybe let's go by maybe some of the common summer symptoms that we see in a lot of people, our students and our patients, right? So when you're too hot, what are some things that maybe some meals, some drinks or foods or recipes that you could think about using when you're too hot?
Wow, it's really intense. And especially like if you're like me going through menopause also, it's like, ooh, the heat waves just it become you feel them like 5 times stronger. One thing that really helps me, and it's so easy to make, is coriander water. It's called himadanya. So very easy to prepare. You just have to crush like a tablespoon of coriander seeds, raw coriander seeds. You crush them a little bit in a mortar and pestle, and then you put them in a bottle or jar container with 4 cups of room temperature water. And you just kind of soak these seeds overnight. I cover the bottle and I keep it on the counter, not in the fridge. And in the morning, you just strain them and you drink that coriander water. This can be also the first water that you drink instead of, don't drink lemon water. That's another mistake people do. Lemon ginger, lemon turmeric, all these very heating ingredients in first thing in the morning will actually make you hot for the day. But coriander water, it just keeps you cool for the day and you can sip it all day long. It will keep your Agni well good, and it will help you digest your food, and you just feel cooler, and it's beautiful, such a beautiful experience. And another very easy remedy is fresh coconut water. Out of a coconut, not out of a bottle. The best standard is out of a coconut, but if that's not available, then organic coconut water out of a bottle, if that's all you can find, that will work also, even though it's not super fresh. So coconut water is very hydrating. It's like a natural electrolyte drink. And it will not only hydrate you, because we tend to get really dehydrated when we're out in the sun, but it will also it has very balanced mineral content, but it will also keep you very cool. I remember in the summer when I lived in India, I would start my day with a glass of coconut water, and it really helped to keep myself cool and less sweaty and sticky. Mm. So these are simple drinks. Another great drink that has multiple benefits is hibiscus tea, and you can make cold infusion by just soaking some dry hibiscus flowers overnight in water, just like the coriander water. You can make hibiscus water. That's very cooling. It's also really good for digestion. And I don't know if you have worked a lot with hibiscus Avanti, but it's so amazing because it lowers high cholesterol, it balances blood sugar. Uh, it has so many benefits for some of the also high blood pressure. It has a lot of benefits for the common illnesses people experience today. So these are some simple drinks.
So I want to ask you one question because I have a feeling a lot of people will be thinking this is why do you just infuse and sort of soak these different things overnight versus boiling them in water? Why is that?
Boiled water has different properties than like cooked water has different properties than uncooked water. And believe it or not, we also have to digest water. So if our Agni is low, water would just go through and will pee it all out. Like, even if we drink a lot of water, it will not hydrate us because it's not being metabolized properly and absorbed and to nourish all the way to the cells. So this is just for very high pitta, and it has a cooling effect. You can also make a hot infusion by steeping the seeds or the herbs in hot water and then cool it to room temperature, and then you drink it. Not Don't ice it, don't refrigerate it. Just drink it at room temperature. Then it will cool your pitta. If you drink it warm, it will balance your vata more. And Ayurveda speaks about different types of drinks. So there is a hot infusion, there is a cold infusion, and sometimes when Agni is so low that you're really not holding anything, nutrients and just going straight through through you and you're not absorbing them, then Ayurveda recommend use this water as medicine by boiling the water and evaporating it to a certain degree. For example, if you boil water like uncovered, like hard boil, like on high heat, and you let the water evaporate by half. So if you start with 4 cups of water and you boil the water until it becomes 2 cups by half, then this water, and you cool it to room temperature, this water will be very, very cooling for pitta. So there are different proportions for each dosha, how much you reduce the water to. But sometimes Ayurvedic doctors use cooked or boiled water that way because when your digestion is not working, you cannot, whatever herbs you put in your mouth are not going to work because they have to get digested also. So I learned this from Dr. Satyajit Katkal, my current Ayurveda teacher, and he said sometimes for the first few weeks we just tell our patients to just drink cooked water the way we teach them how much to boil it, and then Agni becomes stronger, and then they can take more herbs.
Okay, got it. So the way that you prepare the water is actually it's specific for if you're trying to increase the Agni, the digestive fire, versus trying to cool the body, cool the pitta, balance pitta, is what you're saying.
No, it works both ways. So it helps increase Agni and lower Pitta. If you reduce it by half, it will lower Pitta.
Okay. And so then let me go back to the question again. So you suggested with the different remedies that you just talked about with coriander and hibiscus that you just put water into a jar and add those herbs in and soak them overnight. So that's just water. It doesn't have to be cooked. It can just be
No, No, so that's cold infusion. Yeah, just pure water, spring water ideally, or filtered water. You're making cold infusion. So it has to soak longer for the herbs to activate. And then you can make also hot infusion. Then you steep it for like 10 minutes or so. And then you strain it and you can put, yeah, for pitta, you can cool it down. So if your acne is really well, you can make hot infusion. If it's really low, you can make hot infusion.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify why we didn't boil it versus boil it. So now I think I'm clear. And that basically you can get to the same place with the effects it's going to have by steeping it overnight if it's just room temperature water versus cooked water.
Yes. And try, I mean, you can try both ways and see what works best for you. Another great coolant drink. I love drinks because they act very quickly, you know. Even if we're not sure about the food we're eating, like these simple drinks actually have very quick effect, and they're also easy to make when you're traveling and don't have a kitchen. So another great is to to make silver water. So if you find pure silver cup, that's a little more expensive, but pure silver cup, and you pour nice alkaline water in it and keep it overnight and then drink it the next morning, that water will have a cooling effect on your body. And so yeah, that also works great. It's also very good for the immune system. So just like a lot of people are obsessed about copper water, they they keep the water in a copper vessel. Don't do copper in the summer because copper is a hot metal. It actually increases pitta. So copper is more for vata, kapha balancing, but not for pitta balancing. But you can do silver water by keeping water in a pure silver cup and then drinking it the next day.
Yeah, I remember my grandmother used to do that in India. She would have a silver cup that she would put pani in, water in, and then leave it overnight. So that's what she was doing in the summer. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is some summer meal ideas for when you have really low energy. What would be some ideas that you would have?
I like to make like light soups. I know you may think, "Oh, you crazy eating soup in the summer," but it's a very light soup. So I would have a little bit of yellow split mung dal and maybe zucchini or fennel. Fennel is another great vegetable all year round, but especially in the summer, very cooling and very good for digestion. And then I would blend them. I would make like a light creamy soup. So it will not be like heavy creamy, like thick. It will be very light. And with the mung beans and the vegetables, it's very hydrating and very nourishing because we need to keep nourished in the summer, even though we're not as hungry. So that's an easy meal. I love making store-bought pasta. If I don't have time to make fresh pasta, I make it store-bought. I like the einkorn pasta, so I use einkorn pasta from Jovial Foods, and this is my 15-minute summer meal. I a little bit of pasta with maybe a little bit of fresh paneer cheese or just pesto, like fresh pesto that I made, or I can make it the pesto also the day before, and a few artichokes that I saute. I'm very quick with cleaning artichokes, and I love them so much. And I would just saute a few artichokes, or if I have time, I'll make a lentil soup for more protein. And this is like a very quick meal that I can put together within 15-20 minutes. I also have in Joy of Balance, I have this really nice recipe for summer curry, avial. It's like a South Indian style recipe, and it's so easy to make and it's so refreshing. It has coconut paste and it's really nice. It feels very nourishing, but also very light, and it just feels perfect when you eat it in the summer. I don't cook it in the winter because it doesn't feel right for my body.
Okay, so those are some good things for low energy. Any others?
I would go more with more liquid, like light light soups. I would go more with that. And also like make sure that you're chewing your food and don't eat it too late so that it will actually energize you. And if you have low energy, you can also have like maybe an hour before your meal, you can try a little bit of like the ginger mint lime drink I have in What to Eat for How You Feel, or the hydrating drink, which they have all these digestive herbs and spices. So it's very refreshing, but a little bit of it will actually help you have more energy so that you can digest your food.
Amazing. What about if you have low appetite? Because that's common in the summer. What are some things that could help, that would be good for a low appetite in the summer?
It depends. So sometimes you may feel like for breakfast you just want a piece of fruit, like sweet, juicy fruit. I like to peel my fruits, even the peaches and the plums. I like to peel them. It's easier for me to digest. But sometimes I just feel like you know, just having a little fruit, because the sourness of the fruit actually increases Agni, and it can make you feel hungry for lunch. In general, for low appetite, it's good to adjust your meal times also. So you can have just 2 meals a day at 11 o'clock and 6 o'clock, like between 5 and 6. And in the morning, like if you wake up and you feel like, you could have a little bit of cooked fruit. It doesn't have to be just apple, it can be like a little bit of cooked peach or something like that. The cooked fruit will help to bring your appetite up. And it's a very, very light breakfast that can kind of carry you to 11 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, you have your lunch. So you have like 2 main meals a day. And if you need a snack in the afternoon, you can have some coconut water or have some fresh fruit again. And then around 5, 6 o'clock, you have dinner. And you will be surprised actually how much more energy you will have by reducing. And this is also like a natural intermittent fasting. So it works really well for low appetite.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the point here also is that, don't become so alarmed in the summer if you have a lower appetite, because that is sort of the natural state. Just learn how to work with it. And so the idea of adjusting the times for the meals and doing these small things that can help to cool you and, are lighter, easier to digest. Sometimes that can help with the Agni also. And then your appetite comes up.
Yes, yes, exactly. And also, what I find really helpful, I mean, all year round, but especially in the summer, is this after meal digestive aid that I share in What to Eat for How You Feel. It's a very simple recipe with just 50% raw fennel seeds and 50% toasted seeds. Or you can just have 100% toasted fennel seeds. You toast them in a pan lightly until they release the aroma. And then you cool them to room temperature and keep them in a little jar. And have about half a teaspoon of these seeds after each meal. And it looks so beautifully. It's really like you're like, oh wow, I'm actually not feeling heavy or nauseous after my meal. I don't need to take a nap. And you really feel the digestion starts working, but the fennel doesn't increase pitta. It increases Agni, but it doesn't increase pitta.
Yeah, that was something that we would eat always. And I to this day have a little container that's in my purse. My mom carries it. A lot of us who are South Asian, we've grown up seeing that with our parents. And so we kind of use that digestive aid year round, but especially in the summer. So
And it's great also because I always travel with it. And no matter if I'm not eating the ideal food when I travel, the fennel comes to the rescue and it always helps.
absolutely. It's the greatest thing. It's so easy. It's just put in a little box or a little, pill jar or, whatever, plastic little baggy thing and stick it in your bag and it's a great digestive aid. I love that one. Okay, what about if you have like some of these symptoms like eczema or rash? What are some things that we can be doing to help balance that?
They're so annoying, aren't they? Because everybody can see them. Our bad digestion, well, people can smell it sometimes, but not see it so much. But but the skin is just so obvious and it can be embarrassing. Well, first of all, remember that the skin the condition of the skin is very much related to digestion. And so if you're not digesting your foods, especially if you're eating a lot of greasy deep fried foods, it will definitely show up on your skin. So it also like the blood, when the blood is a hot organ where pitta governs. And if the blood is too acidic and too hot, it will come up on the skin. So first of all, make sure that you really adjust your diet. If you have any skin problems, adjust your diet first. Don't be out in the sun all the time. Like, go out in the morning. It's also very helpful to walk on the moonlight. The moon is very cooling. And then topically, depending on what it is, like applying topically coconut oil can be very soothing and very calming. Fresh aloe vera, like here in New York, we can buy aloe vera from a health food store, and you just take a little piece and just rub it on the affected areas. It really helps. But with skin, a lot of it has to do with the internal, like you have to do the internal practice, not just the topical, because this that's a symptom of a bigger issue within.
Yeah. And so it's really some of these different meals and drinks that we've already talked about. If you're seeing those skin conditions flaring up in the summer, you have too much heat and you need to just adjust using some of these ideas that we've already talked about.
Yes, definitely. Wear a hat and maybe even long sleeves. Like, don't expose your skin directly to the sunlight, especially in the middle of the day. And yeah, you have to be careful because, and also you can get sunburned because you were out on the beach for too long. you know? And so with sunburn, especially, all these cooling drinks will help a lot. And applying coconut oil and also aloe vera will help very quickly. Rose water, I love rose water on burnt skin. It helps. It's a quick alleviation.
I love carrying it in like a little spritz bottle. That's very cooling just to, spritz a couple spritz, especially when you're going through menopause and it's summer. It's like it helps to cool externally. It's a nice thing to have in your bag too.
I do the same thing, Avanti. I always have some rose water.
I know.
It improves the mood also. If I feel moody, I do rose water.
It just smells so lovely. Absolutely. Okay, what are some things that we could think about if we have any GI symptoms like acid, diarrhea? Those are common. If you have too much pitta, any time of the year, but it can really get aggravated in the summer.
Yeah, so your body is telling you, be careful what you eat. Again, anything that's deep fried and greasy is a total no-no if you're experiencing all these acidity and diarrhea and heartburn. But also completely eliminating onions and garlic because they are very, very heating. And that's something we don't, I mean, I don't need them at all, but I only use them as medicine. But for people who eat onions and garlic, summer is the time when you want to avoid them because they're very heating and also increase acidity. So they're more aggravating. They're not medicinal in the summer. And what else? Also, eating too late at night. People are like, "Oh, the sun sets at 9 o'clock or 8:30, and we can stay up late and eat late." This will definitely cause more acidity for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And then the last one is that if you're having, some of the emotional symptoms of like increased anger or frustration, what are some things that we could think about from a dietary perspective?
That can be very obvious, and sometimes we may feel it but not express it, and it's kind of we're feeling like a volcano on the inside, and that's actually this can lead to mental problems also. So again, so it's very important if you have a cooling diet, you experience less emotional heat as well. And another thing that's in terms of lifestyle and that helps with emotional heat is to be in nature. So, you know, especially like forests, walking, like forest bathing and swimming in a natural, like a lake or a river or the ocean, like like be in touch with water and be in touch with nature, and this will calm you down very quickly. Walk in the moonlight at night. It really helps with the emotional pitta. And also it's important, especially if it's related to a partner or coworker, like another person. It's really important to kind of slow down a little bit, take a few deep breaths, and open the channels of communication. So practice nonviolent communication. Speak with compassion, express yourself. Because when we have these bursts of anger or whatever else it may be, jealousy, when we have these bursts, it can really ruin our relationships. So we care about a lot. So and you almost like I go through this, of course, also, and I almost like feel like I'm not myself. It's like I'm beside my. It's like and then we do damage control afterwards.
Yes.
My husband and I, we have this joke. It's like because we both tend to get really pitta, very fiery, especially in the summer. We have this joke. It's like, oh, don't take it seriously. It's not me. It's my pitta. It's my hot liver. It's not me. I love you. I love you.
That's so funny. I think the point here is that, a lot of these symptoms that we've talked about are all symptomatic of too much pitta. And I think that's the point we're trying to drive home is that, our body is always speaking to us, our bodies and minds. They're telling us what's going on. And if we just take a moment to think about it, we're in the pitta season of summer. We have the internal heat that's going to increase. What can we do to decrease? And if our body is showing this, right, through GI symptoms or skin symptoms or emotional or low appetite or low energy or just feeling too hot, it's like, okay, the bells need to go off and think about, okay, I need to do something to bring this heat down. And diet is a beautiful, beautiful way, a quick way, a way that Mother Nature has given us all of the intelligence to do it. If we just, sort of are aware of that, I think.
Yes. And you and I, we do this, Avanti, because we love Ayurveda and we've been living it for many years. But, from a lot of people, they have diarrhea and they just drink Pepto-Bismol or, you'd like, uh, like that's the culture we're in. Like, oh, I have this problem. I have this skin. Let me put some cream or whatever. But Ayurveda always brings it to the deep cause of the problems, which usually starts with digestion and the food we eat and our mental disposition also. So instead of like literally putting out fires externally, look for the root cause of the problem and address that. And then your body all of a sudden balances on all levels and in a completely natural way. So yeah, that's the practice. That's the practice that takes a little more work to learn and to live by, but it has long-term positive effects. Doesn't have side effects.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, last question I have for you, which is what are some tips for eating while traveling? You kind of alluded to this earlier, but I know a lot of people will be going on, vacations or road trips or whatever it is, and they're away from their kitchen, their natural environment. What are some things we can do? Just keep in mind while we're traveling for eating.
Yeah, that's really hard, especially if you're in a hotel. And I was at a hotel in Los Angeles. We went to with our products to Expo West. And I was at this hotel and there was breakfast in the morning and I went there and I was like, I can't eat any of this. The white, what was it? Some kind of white pastry, white flour pastry and everything out of a can and the cream cheese and oh, it was like I can't eat any of this. So I always bring food with me. I always bring things that I can eat in case I don't have anything else to eat. So when I travel, I make my own really delicious granola, which I rarely eat granola, but when I travel, it can come very handy. We just released a couple of travel products at divis.com, and they are no cook products. So because I was thinking of all the people who are not able to cook and they need something nourishing. So we have two savory millet flake breakfasts with, I included those like vegetable powders from lightly dehydrated vegetable purees that retain 95% of the nutrients. And what I love about these is that the vegetables were grown in on regenerative farms in the US. So they were grown in very nutrient rich soil. And that's why they're a lot more nutritious. And you just pour hot water on top and you can add a little olive oil or ghee and a little garnish if you like. But you have a hot, very high protein, high calcium also meal. You can use it for breakfast or you can have it as a grain as part of your meal. And we also have these fruit shakes that are actually very cooling because they have a basis coconut milk powder, and with these regenerative fruit crystals. And that's also another thing that's very cooling and nourishing that you can have quickly. So these are great ideas, and I created them specifically for travel when you don't have the ability to cook. I always carry some of the fennel seeds, the toasted fennel seeds that we mentioned. And sometimes I would make like, there's this super spice blend that I show in my master classes how to make, and it's toasted spices, and you can just sprinkle it on top of your food to add more digestion to help you digest the food, even if it's not ideal. But one thing I realized for myself is because when I first started like learning and practicing Ayurveda, I was very rigid about it. I was like, do this, don't do this, black and white and whatever. So this is good, this is not good, this is Ayurvedic, this is not Ayurvedic, this is bad for me, this is good for me. It was intense, and this is not healthy because it created so much stress, and negative attitude toward the food. So now, even if I know I'm not eating the best food, at least I eat it with gratitude and I try to enjoy it, because at least that would bring positivity into my system. Add a little bit of digestion with also mint tea. You can carry mint tea, like little tea bags, or every restaurant usually can serve you mint tea as well. Mint is a great digestive as well. So little things like that will help you digest your food when you're not able to prepare it according to Ayurvedic principles.
Yeah, these are all great ideas. And they're just simple things you can carry in your bag, some tea bags, some fennel seeds, these types of things, these packets. All of Divya's products are amazing. I mean, I always talk about them on this podcast and everywhere because I'm a huge fan. I think that they're delicious, they're beautifully made. They're so intentional by you, and they're made with so much love also, but they're also super practical and they're so tasty. So these new packets are amazing. Like they're great to travel with. So I think those are a really good idea too.
Thank you. I really, one of my roles right now is to help people have easy access to nutritious, delicious, healthy food. So even if you're not used to cooking or you're not able to cook, like our products, because they're not additives to them, they're just pure ingredients. We only dehydrate some of them. There is no bad processing or anything like that. The prana is very high, and it just gives you an opportunity to eat nutritious food and experience it in your body. It's like, oh wow, when I eat this khichdi or the soup or whatever, I actually feel so much better than when I eat other things. So just to get you started on the health food journey. And do I recommend to eat our packets all the time? No, but it's a good start, and it's also it's also a great way to, yeah, like when you're traveling, when you're hiking, when you're camping, they come really handy, and you can eat them and enjoy them without any guilt.
Exactly. And you also have a summer box, I think. Like you've already put together sort of some of the products that you have that would be really good in the summer. I know that you have that also on your website, which is really helpful. Again, if you're starting out in Ayurveda and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, your boxes are beautiful because you also have instructions and recipes in there. They're really helpful. They're really, really helpful. So
Yeah, they're great, and they have unique products. So they include our summer box includes the new products with the millet and the shake and the soothing khichdi, the pitta balancing khichdi. But also one of my favorite products in the summer box is the Sleep Well tea. I call it Sleep Well tea, and it's a really beautiful tea formula. I use the butterfly pea flower, which is blue, so the tea is actually blue in color. Butterfly pea flower. It's called Shankapushpi in Sanskrit in Ayurveda. It's an herb that's been used for thousands of years. It's very cooling, but it supports digestion and is very calming for the nervous system. And it also has a little bit of ashwagandha and lavender flowers, and it's so delicious. It tastes so good. But this tea just helps to calm down your pitta and your vata before you go to sleep. So if you have like half a cup of it an hour or so before you plan to, as you're winding down before you go to sleep, you will notice that you become calmer and calmer and you're ready to sleep. And one of the reasons we also in the summer we don't sleep so well is because pitta is so high. So when we've overheated, like we've been talking about during this podcast, another symptom of overheating is inability to fall asleep. So this tea is cooling, calming, and also helps you sleep. And I love it. It's so beautiful. It's so delicious. So I'm really proud of this product.
yeah, I know. I'm excited. I'm about to order one, so I'm excited to try all the new products. I haven't actually tried the shakes yet, but the millets I've tried and they're really good. So, but I'm going to try the other ones. So I think that we've covered everything on, well, not everything, but all of the things we wanted to kind of talk about with summer. I know we've given the listeners a lot to think about. And as I said, we'll have all the links in the show notes, the master classes that Divya does that she was talking about, you know, the products she was talking about, her cookbooks. These are all great places to go. You can go to her website. You know, Divya has so much knowledge to share. And thank you. I so appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom with my listeners. It's a gift. So thank you so much for doing this with me.
No, thank you, Vanti. I appreciate your wisdom so much. New book. I really look forward to reading it, reviewing it, and benefiting from it. So thank you.
I'm about to send it to you right after this call. So I'm excited for you to read it. So thank you, Divya. We'll do this again in the fall. I think this will be really helpful to sort of give people ideas of how to adjust from one season to the next. So thank you.
Thank you again for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Okay, friends, a few thoughts before we close out this episode. I think the most important thing to remember from this conversation is that when your digestive fire weakens in the summer, what you need isn't less food or colder foods. You need cooling foods that are lighter at room temperature, foods that work with your weakened Agni, your weakened digestive fire, not against it. And as I mentioned in the intro, in Ayurveda, this looks different depending on your dosha. A pitta body needs the most cooling. A vata body still needs warmth even in the heat. And a kapha body needs some lightness. And the moment that I really want you to keep with you is something that Divya kept coming back to. Live in harmony with nature. When the season is changing from spring to summer, your body is also changing with it. And so the work isn't to just keep doing things through the summer like nothing's different. The work is actually to adjust, to actually live in harmony with nature. And if this is a conversation that you want more of, Dr. Thamit Sethi and I are over at the Weekly Health RX on Substack, where we give you personalized prescriptions, not generic advice, built for you and your biology, specifically in midlife. Come find us at weeklyhealthrx.substack.com. It's free to start, and there's also a link in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode hit home, please share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And remember, healing isn't just possible, It's in your power. I'll see you again next time. Until then, be well. Thank you for listening to The Healing Catalyst. If you found this episode helpful, please hit follow and share it with a friend. And if you feel inspired, please rate and review because it helps others find this podcast more easily. For more insights and tips, head to my website at avantikumarsingh.com. And to connect with me directly, find me on Instagram at Avanti Kumar-Singh. I loved sharing this episode with you. My hope is that you heard something today that sparks a catalyst in your healing journey and helps you build lasting health. Be well, and I'll see you next time. This is a Dante 32 production.